Must have been 1983, I think. And I went for an interview in Washington, D.C. And my plane arrived like at 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was the last plane to land because I don't remember what they even called it. It was some big superstorm. The end of the world superstorm, I think is what they called it then. We're all going to die. Here comes the polar cap, going to land on top of the Capitol. Should have known. Capital. Sounds alike. And they had a ton of snow. I don't even know. Look it up. Would you, Stu?
Yeah, no, I've already been doing that. Because usually when you tell these stories, you're just butchering the details. So I have to try to check you as you talk about it to see if you're actually telling the truth.
You are my Media Matters. You're on my...
Basically, yeah, that's my job.
All right, okay.
Yeah, no, you're right. There was a big, the Megapolitan Blizzard of February 10th through 12th.
Megapolitan Blizzard?
That's what they call it. At least that's what Washington Post is calling it. February 10th through 12th, 1983. A lot of snow, Glenn. A lot of snow.
How much? Because I remember it closing everything down. It was over 2 feet. I think it was like 30 inches or so.
Let's see.
I was in northern Maryland.
Germantown and Frederick, Maryland, both received 30 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Western Loudoun County, Virginia, up to 38 inches of snow. Braddock Heights, west of Frederick, Maryland, received 34.9 inches.
Global warming. Warming.
I don't know why that would prove global warming. That part of your story is not checking out.
Yeah, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought for sure, because this one proves global warming to the nut jobs up in Times Square in New York.
1983, they were probably still embracing global cooling.
Yeah, they were.
They probably hadn't switched yet.
They were.
So, yeah, they were going to say that would have fit that narrative. I don't know how they're squeezing this one in.
Well, it's climate change.
It's more moisture. And they keep coming back to the same 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
But again, we've seen them go to the well over and over again saying that global warming would eliminate snow.
Yeah.
Kids would grow up their entire lives.
Well, they were wrong about that,
but
they're not about this.
Oh, okay.
They're not about catastrophic climate change.
Because science is always right until science itself says that it was previously wrong.
Exactly
so
right.
In effect, science is always right.
Them. Mm-hmm. Here's the latest on this snowstorm.
And a lot of people say, gee, this does not look like global warming. How does climate change fit into this? Well, what you just talked about is exactly what happened. 3 of the 10 driest winters happened in the last 20 years, right? So we're not getting as much winter. We're getting mild winters, but when the storms come,
it's like your bladder.
Powerful. 6 of the 10 biggest in history have happened in the last 20 years.
Before the movie, and it's a
we
little
have records here that go back 150
but if you
years. So
store
if you do
up
the
all
math,
of it and you
we
have
should
a
be getting
dry
a storm
spell
like
right
this
before
every
the movie.
15 years. We're getting
and
a
then you
much
drink some more soda, and
frequently
you
as
have
the
no place
oceans
to
warm
tinkle
up, all that
until
warm
after the
ocean
movie. It
energy,
just like
meeting the cold air coming down from the Arctic. Bam! You get all that atmospheric energy, which creates
get that energy, and
like
it's just all tinkling there, and it's a stream. That's what's happening.
That's what's happening?
That's what's happening right there. Yep.
That's what that was.
Yep.
It's fascinating that they just keep going down this road. You know, I don't. They just are so committed to it, and it's like anything that occurs is always explained by global warming. You know, we used to do these lists of.
Well, it's an emergency now. You know.
Yeah, it's a cataclysmic emergency at all times, and every single thing that occurs goes back to this. It's the same way they talk about race, right? Every single incident goes back to racism. Like there's now a thing. This is real. There's now a thing that the Bernie Sanders meme of him in mittens, bundled up, is white privilege. Mm-hmm. That shows white privilege. And there's people talking about this as if it's legitimate. Every single thing
how does that
white
show
privilege.
white privilege? Because you can be grumpy and
have very expensive mittens at an elitist ceremony. That's what white people do. Now, wait a minute. The vice president of the United States who's on stage is not white. How does that show
stage? On stage.
Yes.
Dancing?
No.
Did you make her dance?
No.
Oh, you make me sick.
We talked about the example yesterday where Ben and Jerry's is now pissed off because apparently cops are, I don't know, believe me, I don't know if any of this is true, but supposedly cops are arresting and fining black people more often than white people when it comes to social distancing requirements. But like, Isn't the reverse true? If you didn't like black people,
Jack.
you would want to enforce.
Jack.
Paging Jack from Twitter. Jack from Twitter. Please censor this guy. Please, for the love of Pete. He's denying global climate change. Jack from Twitter. Oops, wait a minute.
I didn't mean to still be on the bullhorn. Let me set you straight here.
Mm-hmm, please do.
Mr. Ignorant, knuckle-dragging white guy. Gina McCarthy, the National Climate Advisor. You don't get that job just because you're in a certain group. The National Climate Advisor for President Biden said now that climate change, a priority for this administration, is also a racial justice issue. She said that the issue exacerbates the challenges in the communities that have been left behind. It goes to the very same communities that pollution has held back in the, quote, cancer alley of Louisiana.
So you should not move onto that street. I mean, we need realestateagentsitrust.com to remind you not to buy a house on Cancer Alley.
Yeah, well, I used to bowl there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the Cancer Alleys.
Oh, okay.
But it was not. It was for bad bowlers. Bad bowlers.
I mean, is it better than Hepatitis Street? Sure. But
you don't
but
want
not
it.
by much.
Not Cancer Alley.
Syphilis Boulevard is a place you could go. Chlamydia Court is you don't want.
There is a really nice restaurant, just like a little boutique restaurant on Cancer Alley, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is it nice?
It's really
That
nice.
sounds nice.
If you just get in and get out real fast, you know what I mean? Maybe you just have a little skin cancer,
Right.
You know, but nothing serious.
No.
Don't go twice, though. No repeat customers. Anyway, she says it goes back to the very same community. Climate justice is about equal rights. The poorest and most vulnerable communities, the ones that have not been invested in, tend to feel the effects of climate crisis more than the affluent areas. For example, Cancer Alley, a home to chemical plants and dangerous air pollution, as well as minority and poor communities. Well, yes, generally speaking, you don't find the nicest houses around the nuclear power plant. You know, Pat was going on a train with me the first time up and down the Eastern Corridor. And he said, have you noticed? I mean, some of these cities are beautiful, but the train goes through the worst sections of town. Yes, because people move away from the choo-choo train.
Right. That's definitely what happens. People don't want to be there, which is why these train projects are such a disaster, right? They try to put these train projects. They're like, well, we're going to build high speed. How about light rail, high speed rail? We're going to build them. And where do they build them? Well, no one wants them going anywhere near them. So it goes to areas where people aren't, which is not
build
a good
a
place
high-speed train over by the giant windmills that there's lots of land there. Nobody wants to go there.
Put that over by Scabies Avenue, and that people will.